Pope Francis keeps tweeting about the New Orleans Saints football team. A couple sues a nanny for quitting and not saying bye to the kids. And Mattel's Wicked Dolls mistakenly lists an adult website on the packaging. These are the weird stories on Weird AF News, the only daily weird news podcast. And, yeah, cool. Pope Francis keeps tweeting about the New Orleans Saints football team by accident. So cute. I like that Pope Francis is on Twitter. You know, it's not the best platform, but at least he's out there. He's accessible. You got a direct pipeline to the Pope. He's using technology. He's into it. We got to get him on TikTok, though. That'd be great. New Orleans Saints, the football team, as you know, could use all the help that they can get right now. Do you know that? Do you know how bad they are? They just lost to Carolina. That's not so good. They continue to receive blessings, though, from the Vatican. It's amazing. Now, they could clearly use some divine intervention right now. Their record is 2-7. And it's nice to have the Pope in your corner. Prayers are in order, although I think the Pope might want to, why stop at prayers? Just take a few snaps at quarterback. I mean, it can't be any worse than what they have going on right now. The article says that Pope Francis took to Twitter, also known as X, for All Saints Day and shared a message using hashtag Saints. However, that's the official hashtag for this struggling NFL team called the Saints. So when you use the hashtag Saints, because it's the official hashtag of the team's logo will pop up in your tweet. It's the, if you're not familiar, it's the fleur de lis. Fleur de lis, did I say that right? I call it the fleur de gris because, it's silly. Why not? Pope Francis on Twitter is @Pontifex. We want to fex, Pontifex. They want to fex, Pontifex. Here's what the Pope tweeted. The saints are formed by the Beatitudes. Poor, meek, merciful, hungering and thirsting for justice, seeking peace. They are filled with God and incapable of remaining indifferent to the needs of their neighbor. They bear witness to paths of light that we too can trod. Now, that particular post by the Pope went up before the Saints lost to the lowly Carolina Panthers, making their 7th straight defeat. And it actually prompted the team to fire their head coach as well, so not doing so good. Looking for a miracle to turn their season around, the NFL's Saints keep getting blessed by the Pope. Pope Francis used hashtag Saints a second time, a few days later, calling them, quote, precious pearls. And then tripled down with a third post saying, quote, we cannot become hashtag Saints with a frown. The Pope said the Saints, hashtag Saints, are precious pearls and are always living and relevant because they provide a fascinating commentary on the gospel. Their lives are an illustration of the good news that Jesus brought to humanity. God is our Father who loves everyone with boundless love. These are such lovely, inspiring tweets, right? And then they could use such things. And the team got in on the fun. They thanked the Pope for his blessings. And while the Saints fans haven't had much to smile about lately, people across the football world had a field day in Pope Francis's comments. One person wrote, Your Excellency, the Saints are 2-7. Keep the blessings coming. People are hilarious. I assume the Pope knows now that this is the football team he's been hashtagging all along. It's probably his team now. It should be his team. You should rep. Pope should go to a game. Why not? Hey, they're always trying to get people interested in the church. The church is losing members. The Catholic Church has been struggling. Why not go to some games? I think people would enjoy that. While you're at it, go to Church's Chicken. Hang out at Church's Chicken. I mean, the Pope would be so surprised to learn about Church's Chicken. Some damn good chicken, too, right? Well, lastly, I'll just say, at the end of the day, the New Orleans Saints need a miracle to have a winning NFL football season. And so it's great that they're getting blessings and indulgences by Pope Francis, even though they're accidental. A couple sues a nanny for quitting and not saying goodbye to the kids. A Vancouver couple who requested an explicit commitment from a certain nanny to work to the beginning of December are suing her for some damages after she quit without notice with 6 weeks left on her contract. The couple is David and Gloria. They filed a lawsuit in the BC Supreme Court seeking damages for the effect her leaving will have on their ability to earn income and punitive damages for the, quote, egregious disregard to the interests of the children. In the lawsuit, they say the nanny, quote, didn't say goodbye to our children. Well, in her defense, I mean, this is how Mary Poppins did it, right? She left the kids without saying goodbye. She didn't want to hurt the kids. So if it's good enough for Mary Pop Mama, the old Mary Pop Mama, then, I mean, it's pretty good for most nannies, I would say. Well, let's keep reading. According to the lawsuit, this nanny made a commitment to stay until December. And it says, quote, a commitment to protecting the emotional interests of the children and opening up, trusting, and bonding to a child care provider without disruption and without broken bonds and expectations. That's what the lawsuit says. This woman started September 14th. She worked Monday to Friday for $20 an hour. and I mean, okay. And their children, aged 4 and 2, did trust and tenderly bond with the defendant, it says. Yeah, but also she was only working, 6 weeks or so? This isn't really wasn't like this nanny was with them for years and years. You had a nanny for 6 weeks. She was supposed to work another 6 weeks. She quit, probably because of something that you do, you know. The reaction of the couple to actually sue the nanny lead me to believe that there's something off about them, which is the basis for this nanny's quitting. You can just imagine in your mind what this couple's like that would sue a nanny making minimum wage. I mean, they're lawyering up at this point. I mean, that just tells you the kind of despicable individuals these people are. And there's probably a very good reason why she's quitting before her, 2.5-month contract is up. And it's like, what is it, a 2 to 3 month contract? This is a temp. You're treating it like this woman was like a concrete employee of your corporation for a decade or whatever the hell. The nanny's name is Roisin Murphy. She is an Irish lady. At one point, she told the husband she's coming down with a cold and asked if she could go home for the day as a precaution against giving the children a cold. And it says the stay-at-home request was communicated and courteous and professional. Said that shortly after, she invoiced the couple for her services and told them that she was leaving. Maybe she was maybe something happened to her. She had a health issue. Maybe she found out after speaking to a doctor that it was worse than she anticipated. And then it was like, you know what? I shouldn't be around children. I shouldn't be working. I mean, we need to hear her side of the story. The lawsuit says her quitting left the children, quote, abandoned by someone with whom they had formed a very strong bond of trust and reliance. Really? I can't take these people seriously. Yeah, and one of the most shocking aspects of this is you hired an Irish nanny and she gave you an Irish exit and you're surprised by that? I mean, are you guys all familiar with the Irish exit, also known as the Irish goodbye? It's when you don't say goodbye when you're at a party. You just sneak out. You just, you escape like a fugitive. You dig a Shawshank tunnel right to your bed, which is where you wanted to be all along. Oh, man, I do the Irish goodbye so much because parties don't hold me anymore. Parties used to have a grip on me and I wouldn't leave. But now, at my age and all the parties I've been to, I'm not in the grips of a party. I'll leave a party so easily. I left a party last month because my lips were chapped. And I Irish goodbyed. That's right. I just snuck out without saying goodbye. Amazing. It's the best way to leave a party. You don't even have to lie when you do the Irish goodbye. You could just tell somebody, hey, I'm going to the bathroom. And then you go home to your own bathroom. Or you just say, I'm going to go to my car real quick. But then you leave out the part where you're also going to start it and drunk drive to a Chick-fil-A.
Let's rock.
A toy doll's packaging mistakenly lists an adult film website. The packaging from Mattel's Wicked Dolls mistakenly lists the URL of an adult entertainment site instead of the official domain for the new Wicked film. Wicked, the new theatrical adaptation of the hit Broadway musical, is set to open in theaters worldwide on November 22nd. However, merchandise for the film, starring Ariana Grande as the witch Glinda, is already on sale, and some fans have spotted a major error on the packaging for Mattel's dolls for the film. The back of the Mattel dolls packaging lists the website wicked.com. What's the issue, you're thinking? Well, that domain belongs to an adult entertainment website, not the film's official website, which is actually wickedmovie.com. Well, I don't see the problem here because, as you all know, if you go to a pornographic website, they have this age verification checkbox so that the kids are completely safe. You can't get into these websites because only someone 18 and over can check that box. Right? Obviously, I'm joking. It's the dumbest security ever. It's the dumbest security ever. You must be 18 and over to enter. Check this box if you're 18 and over. Oh, my goodness. Ooh, the safeguards. I'm just overwhelmed by the safeguards that they have. Kids can't get in there, right? Because kids can't check a box. They just can't. They're very honest, these kids, right? They're not going to check a box unless they're 18 and over, right? Wow, what a disaster this is. Although I'd imagine both sides are getting good publicity. The movie and the adult film site are probably all getting this great PR right now. So even bad PR is good PR, as they say, right? Now, the article says here that it doesn't seem to be a one-off error. Hundreds of Mattel boxes listed on eBay show the same error. However, other Wicked merch, such as the Lego set, does list the correct URL on its packaging. But for the dolls, it lists the actual pornographic website there. And based on my expert research, the toy package site actually does, in fact, go to an adult film site. And as you know, I'm disgusted by this. Completely. It's just gross. It's a terrible thing. And I'm going to continue to conduct more research in this matter for the rest of the afternoon. You can be sure. Now, if you guys are interested in seeing this Wicked movie, strange that they would have it out now instead of prior to Halloween. You'd think they'd have it in time for Halloween, but it's November 22nd is the release. It's got some stars in there that I do not recognize. Oh, I know Peter Dinklage, Jeff Goldblum, Michelle Yeoh. I know those three. I'm a bit of an old school person, I suppose, and I do not watch a lot of new films, sadly. Whenever I watch films, it's usually streaming at home, and I just keep going back and watching films from the 70s. I just enjoy all those directors. My favorite directors, like Sidney Lumet, Kubrick, I love. Coppola, I love. Scorsese, I love. I even really enjoy Hitchcock, so I'll go back and watch those films over and over and over again. And then I notice as I get older, my memory isn't working, so it's like I can rewatch a film that I saw fairly recently, and it's like I'm watching it all over again for the very first time. I don't know if that's getting old or just from smoking too much cannabis. There are some benefits to short-term memory loss, I guess, after all. And lastly, about this particular story with the pornographic website, this is one of the arguments for pornographic companies or adult companies to use .xxx instead of .com. Some people say that should be a change made. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you protect the kids from this sort of stuff. I'm assuming it's to protect the kids, right? I mean, they seem to find these things. I mean, obviously it doesn't help when you're putting them on on a toy box. I'll tell you, though, these are going to be collector's editions, right? These Mattel dolls that had the porn site on there, these will be collector's editions. In 20 years, these things could be worth like $14, man, so get a hold of a few. It reminded me of that baseball card, the Billy Ripken baseball card. Are you familiar with this? It's kind of a famous baseball card. I used to collect baseball cards and sports cards back in the day. But this baseball card is famous because he's on the card holding a baseball bat, and on the bottom of the bat, it's where the knob is. It's like facing camera. And unbeknownst to him, there was a very terrible word written on the bottom of that. It's really funny. You can Google this. I'm not going to say it, but and so that card went out printed with that terrible word on it, and the company Fleer eventually found out and stopped the printing of that particular version of it, and then they put out a censored version of it where they put a little black box over it, or maybe they crossed it off or blurred it or something. But that original version of it is worth a little bit more money, and I assume you've got to think that's going to be the situation with this box as well. It'll be a collector's item. I don't know. I've never asked this question on the show, but I'm kind of curious. Anyone have a weird collection out there? Any of my listeners collect something very bizarre that we all need to know about? I'd be very curious to know if you do. Please email me. with photos. funnyjones@gmail.com. Hi, my friends, and thank you again for spending some time with your buddy Jonesy and the Weird AF News podcast. Appreciate you. And I want to thank everybody who reached out to me with lovely emails, whatnot, commentaries on the shows. It's always wonderful to get correspondence from listeners. I appreciate that. Also, make sure if you haven't already, follow me on Instagram at FunnyJones. That's where I put my stand-up comedy dates and cities where I might be. I don't travel a whole hell of a lot, but I do a bit. And maybe I'm happen to be coming to your area at some point. So follow at FunnyJones. Also DM me, say hello. I like to hear from listeners, and I'll say hi right back. Get a little discourse going on. Tell me where you're from. I guess lastly, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the show. Just FYI, I do Weird News 5 days a week, and on Friday it's only Weird News from Florida. That's right. That's what makes this podcast very, very special. And if you want to support the show, lastly, I have a website, weirdafnews.com, and you can go and join the Patreon, or you can buy me a coffee, do that sort of thing. None of that is necessary, of course, as I realize the economy isn't so great, and so maybe you're struggling right now, as I am. If that's the case, you can help me out by just telling a friend about Weird AF News, spreading the word of Weird AF News. Maybe you know somebody who needs this in their life because mainstream news makes them so depressed, and they need a little break from that. So Weird AF News is a nice addition to your daily weird news lineup. I suggest you listen to it last after you listen to the terrible news, the real news, then you listen to this at the end. Maybe you can get a laugh and learn something about the weird world around you. Or if anything, at least you can say to yourself, hey, at least I'm not the people in these stories. My life ain't so bad after all.